that people can take lessons from the book and learn from my mistakes and learn from my learnings. My big hope is that people who read the book don't have to go through the same educational process that I went through, where it took me so long to figure out where the problems were, that I blame myself for many of my failures to succeed, when actually there is a very big systemic problem. I hope people can realize that and not be afraid to push for change, that they can realize how they can be successful, and they can realize that, you know, a lot of it is not their fault, and to be hopeful for change, to push for change, and to speak up for others. So Project Include is a nonprofit that I started with 7 other women to really help companies focus on change and to become more diverse and inclusive. And for us, that meant really thinking about everything they do, making sure that it is inclusive of everyone, and then also driving metrics to measure progress and to hold people accountable. Technology is such an important area where many of the jobs and much of the wealth is being created. And the 8 of us had over 100 years of experience in the tech sector and thought that we could really create some recommendations that would be specific to tech and very impactful. Yes, so we have 87 recommendations on what to do about discrimination. I think a big part of it is not focusing just on one area. So focusing on gender discrimination allows other forms of discrimination in your company. You really need to look at removing all discrimination. So it has to be comprehensive, it has to be fully inclusive, and it has to look at everything that you're doing in your company. So there is not one thing to do, but one of the ways that you can really measure and make sure that you're having progress and to see where you are is by looking at metrics, by measuring the diversity demographics of your organization, and also looking at satisfaction levels of all of those groups to see and make sure that they are being treated fairly based on their perceptions. I would say look at companies that are really trying to make themselves fully inclusive. So not just based on gender, but also based on race, on immigration status, on age, on religion, on everything that you can think of. You know, if that company has a board that reflects different backgrounds, if they have a leadership team that reflects different backgrounds, they are much more likely to have a more fair system, or one that looks more equitable, because you see people at the top have actually succeeded.